The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall continue to follow me all the days of this protracted experience of death, and I will dwell in the house of the most super intelligent power, source, and force of love and creation forever. What's happening? Benton here. Might have to put up the non-tent banner. I'm feeling like some rambling. Maybe we'll get into my whatever's going on in my personal life as far as the job and all these things. Maybe later in the stream. And again, I'm about to mention a name, but it's not about the name or the personality or the person. A lot of people get lost in the attachment of the person. You know, an idea gets attached to a person or a personality. I only mention this because of the nature of my job. And even when I'm not working as a truck driver, I listen to a lot of content historically. And the chat's on for now, but it'll probably get turned off pretty quick. Just be aware of that. In fact, I probably should be doing that right now, but we'll worry about that later. Hang on. We're driving. We're driving. The speed limit just dropped. And, it's kind of fucking everything up here. And I want to start out because I have a lot of things to say about women and dating men and relationships. And I normally talk about this strictly from the male perspective. And I can't really address the female perspective because that's obviously not my experience. But much like I've talked about before, you know, not being a parent, well, I have been parented. So I'm able to speak to certain aspects of those dynamics. So, yes, I have no experience as a woman in the context of dating and relationships, but I've have a lot of experience as a man in a relationship with a woman and a lot of living together. Um, you know, not to brag, but my three long-term relationships that total close to 20 years, if not more, each one, each woman more attractive than the last. Again, not that that's anything to brag about necessarily, but it is what it is. And now we have this idea of men, working on themselves and learning how to approach women and game and all of this. Well, the only my second ex-wife did I even formally understand any of that from a, studying and understanding certain concepts. So just naturally, I was always going to have wives and girlfriends. It's just what it was, without doing anything but quote be yourself, which is, there's really no reason to go into, what that statement means or represents in a context. So here's the context. Let's start out with a context. And real quick, just as a disclaimer, none of this is woman bashing, right? There's no incel energy. There's none of that. And I've always enjoyed women, loved women, thought they were great from a very early age. Very, very positive interactions with women into my, boyhood, early boyhood, I would say, for whatever reason. Not sure why that was, but just that's what it was. And so what I'm seeing a lot in the media and a lot of these portrayals in the culture, it's a lot of this is tied up in this idea that Gen Z males are not dating and having relationships. So, and this is a fascinating topic because I'm now starting to see a lot of channels, a lot of content. There's a lot of women online who cover various news items, but from like a conservative or a traditional family values or a MAGA, slant. But make no mistake, because of their age, some of these are millennial women or maybe older Gen Z. These are feminists, meaning not that they themselves chose to be a feminist at the level of ideology. It's because they were socialized within an environment in which feminism was already deeply entrenched into all aspects of society. And again, there's always exceptions to everything. I'm speaking broadly. The fact that 100% you can find something that is an exception to the general statements that I'm making does not negate the larger, the 85% of the time that what I'm asserting is valid. Yes, I understand that there's, 5 to 15% of the cases, Benton is, well, actually, it's this other way. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm playing the numbers. I'm willing to accept the balance, the order versus chaos balance of some percentage of the time it's going to be chaotic, meaning that things are going to express contrary to the norm. I'm talking about the norm because I'm playing the odds, right? To then go out and behave based on the minority of cases, that would then be to be chaotic, which would be to what? Express in a way that's not masculine. Chaos is feminine or female. Now, that doesn't mean the female gender, is guilty of that. That's not what that means. But make no mistake, chaos is female, folks. That's just what it is. Also doesn't mean that a male can't express chaotically. Right? But in order for a male to express chaotically in a detrimental way, he would need to lack masculinity, in those moments. And so these masculine feminine dynamics are simply not well understood. They're just not. And this is where common sense becomes a problem, because folks will just say, oh, well, it's common sense or it's conventional wisdom. It's like, Yeah, in my world, where I'm obsessed with effectiveness, and again, show me a human, I can show you a hypocrite. Finding a time that I'm not living up to what I'm asserting doesn't. You can't then say, oh well, actually, he's not that thing he's asserting. No, more often than not, what I just said is true. Now, and again, to even discourse on all of this, once the human is entered into the equation, see, do you see how fraught with peril, to even begin to have some of these conversations? So to bring it to the topic of Gen Z men, are saying no to dating and relationships, and it's being framed now in a looks maxing as sort of a nouveau incel, right? Which, again, I'm just describing the framing that I'm seeing. And, looks maxing as a concept, certainly this is like a movement that's being perpetrated by the system. It's to benefit the system. So let's bring it back to dating and relationships. Well, a masculine man with testosterone, let's look at two different desires or needs, right? And let's take them away from males and females. Okay, you have a sexual desire to conquer and be dominant and be submitted to sexually. You have that. Then you also have the desire for security, stability, safety, dating, and relationships, so-called monogamy. And so where women fail much of the time is by assuming that males have a desire for dating and relationship. They do. It is nowhere near as important or relevant as the desire to fuck pussy. So when a woman looks at a masculine male or masculine man with testosterone, dating and relationships pales in comparison to the desire to fuck some pussy. And that will never change. And women have not drilled that into their brains. Yes, some of them have. So the woman's desire is to have access to a long-term relationship. That's not the man's desire. It doesn't mean that he doesn't, quote, want it. So let's say you have 100% of desire when it comes to male-female dynamics. The man, 90% of what a man wants is the desire to fuck pussy. 10% is the desire to have a stable partner and mother of his children in the home. It's 90-10. The overarching desire is when the erection occurs to insert it into a vagina. And that is not going to change. And women cannot accept that because they don't understand it, because they can't relate to it. Right. And then you get into psychological concepts around penis envy, a lot of other things. That's not the focus of what I want to talk about here. And so now the idea is, well, there's a problem's been identified. What's the problem? Oh, well, Gen Z males are no longer engaging or involving themselves in dating and relationships. And I don't need to know about the minority of exceptions. I'm only talking about the phenomenon of a generation being accused, rightly or wrongly. I'm talking in the context of official fiction media narrative, which may or may not be pertaining or valid. Right. It still is a thing because, again, I'm seeing some of these female content creators who are still feminists. A woman can call herself a trad wife. She can call herself MAGA. She can call herself conservative. She still has internalized feminism. Guess what? So have the males. The males have internalized feminism because that is what socialized them. An environment socialized them, and the layers, every single layer of the environment that socialized them was fully feminist, period. The church, feminist. The school, feminist. The university, feminist. The workplace, feminist. That's just reality, right? So you really can't separate those things. You can't parse that out. If I want to go find an actual trad wife type of woman, I got to go find the ones in the long denim skirts. Like, for real. I've known those women. I've never known them carnally. Isn't that interesting? Now, I'm sure some of them give it up under certain circumstances, but the majority of them, you got to marry them broads because that's what they're taught, and their daddy is keeping watch. And I'm highly attracted to those women. I knew that I wasn't going to be what her family would have demanded that I be. So when I worked for some folks that owned a computer store, and one of their daughters, who was close enough in my age, and she was over the age of 18 and close enough in age to me, they get married. Almost all of them get married sometime between, 18 and 21. If I was 25 and she was 19 and she gave me a big old hug and my physicality had a reaction, and I know my physicality having that reaction means her physicality is having a reaction. Well, I knew in my brain back then, I'm not willing to join this fucking clan of fundamentalist Pentecostals, right? I'm not going to do it. I'm not joining their church. It's just never going to happen. Would I like to potentially have one of these women as my wife? Sure, great, yeah. Same thing with the Mormons. I had experiences in Utah with Mormon women close to my age who were very attractive, right? And I did the calculation. In my brain, said, well, I can't pretend to believe in this nonsense so that I can move to Utah and marry one of these women who would then happily have my children. And of course, I'm going to need to go out into the community and make money and all of these things and provide the stable environment. So this is what I'm talking about with dating and relationships. And so now that if the problem is identified, whether or not it's a valid problem, it's a media narrative. Let's talk about it at the level of a narrative. Well, now that the problem is identified and the problem involves male-female dynamics, who is tasked with solving the problem? Well, not the women, because that's responsibility has nothing to do with what a woman is at the level of her gender identity. It has everything to do with what a man is at the level of his so-called gender identity, meaning a woman's a woman because she's got the parts. Man is a status, right? Hey, what's up? I see you down there. A man is a status, and it's earned through action. And in fact, many millennials and Gen Z males will never, ever even unlock that status. Right? So to even call them Gen Z men is, even that is far afield in many cases. But the attaching it to concepts of incel and looks maxing. So number one, to connect it to incel, and now this is where the feminism shows itself. And I only even know about this because there's a channel that shows up in my feed, a very plain looking woman, maybe neurodivergent, who covers these news topics. And I'm not into her personality. I'm not into her as a person. It's that she's curating material and providing it to me so that I don't need to go out here and take in all this nonsense. Because yes, I used to take in pretty much everything. I don't do that anymore. We're a little more focused these days. Not that we were unfocused back then. We are now even more focused than we were before. the royal we. So now that the problem is identified, okay, well now males need to solve the problem. It will never be what do women need to do. Okay. And so by conflating looks maxing with incels, we've already said, okay, men and males, it's shameful and repulsive that you're not approaching women, you're not courting them, and you're not having long-term relationships with them. Now that means that you probably are, that's probably because you can't, right? So the males are already under attack from moment one. And she specifically mentioned, she said, and they're not going their own way, meaning, oh, these aren't 32-year-old males that have already experienced dating and relationships and potentially fatherhood, and now they're choosing to go their own way. Oh, this ain't that. She's talking about, this clavicular character and his ilk, the 23 or 24-year-old males who do have either a high income or it looks like they might have a high income in the near future, if not already. Why aren't they approaching women and dating? See? And they're all, see how it's already set up to shame the man or the male, right? And so where we can blame the ladies is, okay, what makes a lady, and see, this is part of how women are victims of this programming, because the women are allowed to falsely believe that a masculine man in his dominant energy has any fucking desire whatsoever for a relationship. He doesn't. He doesn't desire a relationship. He's willing to participate in one under the right circumstances, under the right circumstances, under the right circumstances. What does under the right circumstances mean? It means she must meet certain metrics. She must meet certain metrics. She must meet certain metrics. And if a woman actually was willing to prove through her actions that she was willing and able to do what it took to behave in ways where she could potentially have a romantic partner that as a male or man meets certain metrics, she would be taking notes on what I'm saying right now. Not that she's listening. See, instead of providing resistance to what I'm saying, she would get out her notebook and her piece of paper and her pen, and she would start writing down what I'm saying as if I'm a professor of how to get what you want, how to get what you say you want, ladies. Because remember, what a lady says she wants and what she actually responds to are generally very different things. In my experience, they may or may not line up with one another. Let's see, may or may not line up with one another. So as a 50-year-old conventionally attractive man, you can laugh at that all you want. You can, and I already know that concept will be mocked and ridiculed. Answer me this: why do I go into a grocery store and at least 50% of the time, at least one woman, if not multiple women, follow me around the store and place themselves next to me so that I may talk to them if I choose? Until you answer that question with anything other than mockery or ridicule, I don't have time for the mockery or ridicule, because that provably happens to me, and it happens so regularly, I take it as an attack, honestly. I used to say borderline harassment. I'm harassed by women at the grocery store in a covert, nonverbal way. I'm physically fucking harassed by women, and sometimes men, especially if it's a Whole Foods on a Saturday or a Sunday morning. There's a high probability that I will be harassed by both men and women. No bullshit. I've had it happen on the same aisle of the Whole Foods. Now the men, it's if a fella understands certain dynamics, it's fairly easy to communicate with body language and eye contact to the male that, hey, you're barking up the wrong tree, partner. Uh, what I've taken to doing with the women is I just stare at them until they get the hint and go the fuck away from me. Because they, there's really no providing subtle cues to a woman that, hey, yeah, this is not, this ain't the thing, lady. But because I've already recognized, oh, maybe she just needs me to check her ass out. Okay, I see your booty. I see your backside that you're parading around the fucking Whole Foods. I see it. Are we good now, or do you need what else? What else do you need? Toots. This happens to me all the fucking time, and it's not based on, oh well, Benton thinks this. It has nothing to do with what I think. It has to do with being a conventionally attractive man whose default looks are somewhat in style. I don't have any idea why, certain TV shows and certain media portrayals, I pretty much look like the literal poster child for it. I don't fucking know. I have no idea. It's probably part of the waking dream, surrealistic, unreality, deja vu all over again. I'm only saying that it exists. So there is a world in which I'm listening to Kevin Samuels content. Again, no reason to talk about the person, no reason to talk about the personality. It's not important. Well, that's anecdotal. I will address the that's anecdotal. So see, what you've done. So number one, the commenter is implying that the commenter is female. And I want to say this, for more of my time on the internet than not, every single poster on the internet was assumed to be male until proven otherwise. So if I'm even willing to accept your premise that you're female, I'm speaking broadly and you're now introducing yourself as an anecdote. So when we're speaking generally and broadly, we don't then go into anecdote. So whatever you're on about doesn't pertain. So nice try. Try again. See? And this is where the Kevin Samuels style of content falls flat, is because that becomes the entertainment value is this specific dynamic that's now appeared, right? It's Kevin Samuels talking directly to a woman. Now, what I will say is, if there was a woman who actually had a goal of she wants to be in a romantic relationship with a man and she's willing to do whatever it takes to make that happen, regardless of how it feels. And so, are you that type of lady commenter? Is that you? Yes or no? Is that you? I'm asking a direct question that I need a yes or no question. I need a yes or no answer to. Are you a woman of a certain age, let's say 28 to 35? Because if you're over 35, I'm definitely not talking to you. Our cutoff is 35. The oldest ladies I'm addressing are 35 years old. So number one, are you 35 years old or younger? Number two, but over the age of about 28, 25 at the youngest. And are you desirous of a romantic relationship in a monogamous sense with an actual masculine man? And then you have a goal of that and you are willing to change your behavior. Yes or no, does that apply to you? Yes or no, does that apply to you? We're going to need a yes or a no. And I'm waiting for the delay to catch up. Yes or no? Okay. Well, all right. Thank you for answering. I do appreciate it. So I'll get back to what I was talking about, but I got to do a thing real quick. of women is that the idea that they can have a masculine man as a so-called partner, but not uh, without living under a dictatorship in which she can never become the dictator. Because make no mistake, my 3 long-term relationships, it was me as benevolent dictator, meaning there was no possibility of being in a romantic committed relationship with a masculine dominant man without the woman choosing to enter into and remain in a dictatorship where she can never Game of Thrones style become the dictator. And I can absolutely explain the dynamics of this. And I can answer every question that the females will have. Well, why do you deserve this? Well, why should we do that? I have answers to all of it. Right. It's easy to answer because I've analyzed all of it. It's super easy. What's not possible is to have her feel some type of way about the answers. However she feels about the answers is however she feels about the answer. You know, so a male whose 90% of his desire is to fuck the pussy, well, I'm already accepting that I must deal with and contend with, and I'm exposing myself to the emotions of the creature that are attached to the vagina. Right. I'm already accepting that into my life. And remember, I'm the dictator of my life. And if I choose to have a romantic relationship, that doesn't change. I remain the dictator of my life. As a single individual woman, she is free to be the dictator of her life. And at times she may have been in romantic relationships with males who allowed her to be the dictator of his life, which thus ensures that he's not an actual man at the level of a status. So you've got women out here who don't even know that they've never had one relationship with a man because they've been in 3 relationships with males, but she wore the pants. You can't wear the pants, ladies, and be in a relationship with a man. Those 2 things those are mutually exclusive. You can't be in a relationship with a man and wear the pants. Mutually exclusive. Not possible. And now there's no chat, so I'm not able to ask. Okay. And so I will go ahead because we had something pretending to be female down there, which may or may not be female. And in 2026 could have a dick and balls, right? And still claim to be female. Or could have been born with a dick and balls and doesn't have them anymore. And that's 2026 for you. So let's go back to the female commenter. Lady, when I go to the grocery store later today or tomorrow, there's a high probability as a conventionally attractive 50-year-old man that a woman or multiple women is going to follow me around the store and place herself in my proximity that I may talk to her if I choose. Okay. That's her communicating to me that she's open to the idea of me speaking to her and potentially having some sort of an involvement in a romantic sense. That's what that means. Yes, 100% of the time, that's what that means. How do I know this? Because this has been my experience. That is the case. So you can't then tell me that I'm old. You can't then bring up my characteristics and ridicule and mock me, because I may agree with you. Yeah, I know that I'm old. I like being old. Has nothing to do with am I followed around the grocery store by attractive women of a certain age, and I don't mean my age. I mean women of all ages. All right. Sometimes I've had Gen Z women walk up next to me at the Eggs in the Supercenter in Hope, Arkansas, and start talking to me. And her boyfriend was over there with the shopping cart. See, that's a woman that wears the pants. She's never been in a relationship with a man. Something within her wants a man. And so a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle is true in 2026. It's worse than that, ladies. A woman wants a man. That's worse. And that's a basis for my compassion towards women and the plight of women. Because yes, ladies, you don't need a man in 2026. It's worse than that. You want one and cannot get one, because the moment you end up in a relationship with what you falsely believe to be a man, the moment you wear the pants and he lets you, he's not a man, because a man ain't a man got a woman for a boss. So ladies, you can't have what you seemingly want unless you take a bunch of notes and you write down what I'm talking about and you change. You have to change. I don't have to do anything. Because why? Because I had 20 years of cohabitating with attractive females that I could put my erection into their vagina anytime I wanted. And yes, anytime I wanted. They say, what do you mean? What if she wasn't in the mood? I've never been in a relationship that was with a woman that wasn't in the mood when I was in the mood. It's never happened. Oh, you telling me you were with 3 different women for 20 years and they never turned you down for sex? That's exactly what I'm saying. Not one fucking time. Not one fucking time, because they knew, well, here's a guy who can absolutely just go to another woman if I don't give him what he wants right now. Meaning he can right now go to another woman. Now, that doesn't mean I'm a cheater. That doesn't mean, that means I absolutely, within the next day or two, without a fucking problem, can go put my penis in a different woman's vagina. And when a woman is in a relationship with a man like that and she knows it, she doesn't turn him down for sex, because she can't, because she understands that at all times she's competing with the other women who want to be in a relationship with her man. Women are very possessive and territorial. This is why when the man gets caught cheating, the woman almost never drops his ass, because why is she going to break up with him and dump him? And now he is free to go into the arms of the woman that's competing for her man. That's her man. And see, I know y'all inside and out, but from a male perspective, from the perspective of a man who's been very successful in dating women. Now they say, oh, well, you're this, you're that, you're divorced. How did that work out for you? Worked out great for me. I guess you'd have to go ask them how it worked out. Because remember, what is the man? What's his primary reason for being in the relationship? 90% of it is he wants to put his erection in her vagina on a regular basis. My ex-wife, number 1, 3 times a day, every day for the first year. I'll say it again. 3 times a day, every day for the first year. 3 times a day, every day for the first year. That's what I wanted. So what I required of her was she had to live under my benevolent dictatorship in order to have access to what? A committed monogamous relationship with a masculine man that she found highly attractive, who also met certain metrics within society's parameters, which I did meet at that age. The fact that I did not meet them later on is a different matter. At the time, I hit all of those marks. Meaning, if she desired to be in a committed relationship with me, other women did too. Other women just as cute as her, other women just as funny as her, other women just as submissive as her, and girly and giggly. I like ditzy chicks. Ditzy. Ditzy. Only my high school girlfriend wasn't ditzy. Now, what she was, bubbly and, but that wasn't her actual true personality or character, right? Whether or not that was a put on or just society kind of demanded it culturally at the time, I don't know. There was enough of it there. I have no desire to be in a relationship with a cerebral, thoughtful, deadpan, resting bitch face broad. Now, would I be willing to? Perhaps. Perhaps I would be open to the possibility. You're going to have to convince me, ladies. I'm not seeking y'all out, because why would I? Because now we're going to hit on the heart of the matter. Here's the heart of the matter. If I'm expected to do the approaching and I'm expected to persist through the initial, her playing hard to get and pretending not to know why I'm talking to her and, putting up resistance when I'm like, hey, put your number in my phone, blah, blah, blah. And all of those dynamics. And I have no idea what that even looks like in 2026. No fucking clue. Guess what, ladies? I'm only going to do that with the most physically attractive women between the ages of 28 and 35 that I can find. I'm not going to waste my time on some cerebral 7 on my scale, because I only care about my scale, 7 with resting bitch face. I'm going to go find a 9 on my scale. And see, you can't fake a 9. I mean, when I say 9, facially 9, not her body, right? Not her body. No matter, her face is going to be a 9, not her body. Her face is going to be a 9. And there's nothing a woman with an 8 face can do to have a 9 face. There's nothing a woman with a 7 face can do to have a 9 face. It just cannot be done. It cannot be done. So what the ladies aren't understanding and what the media won't tell them is that the looks maxing and clavicular and all of this idea that Gen Z men won't date. No, that's not the case. What they've figured out is that it comes down to a basic financial, it's a cost analysis, meaning if society demands that he has to sink a great deal of his resources into relationships and dating, he would have to be a fool to waste any of those efforts on anything other than the top tier women. Now, where women are in confusion is they want to conflate top tier with her education, her career, and her income. And what people like Kevin Samuels and others have helpfully pointed out is masculine dominant men don't give a flying fuck about any of that, because none of that has anything to do with me putting my erection in her vagina. None of that has anything to do with me putting my erection in her vagina. None of that has anything to do with it. It's only her physical characteristics. It's only her physical characteristics. It's only her physical characteristics. And so what the women will do is go but, because when a woman hears it's only her facial characteristics, she now has a feeling. See, she has a feeling. And again, I'm accepting, if I'm going to accept a romantic relationship with a vagina, and 90% of my reason for choosing such a thing or being willing to accept such a thing is that I want to put my penis into a vagina on a regular, ongoing basis, I have no choice but to contend with the emotions of that being. And that's only, those emotions are only my problem to the degree at which I allow them to be my problem. But women have been falsely taught that her emotions are more important and sacrosanct above all. Well, in many arenas of her life, they are. Guess what? I'm not living within the context of her life. She's living within the context of my life if she's going to end up in a relationship with me as a dominant masculine man. And again, ridicule the concept of a dominant masculine man. It's proven, because unless she's passed away, and I'm not trying to manifest that, there's a very attractive 50-year-old, charming, submissive, feminine woman somewhere that can be found and questioned about her relationship with me. That's called proof of concept. And before that was an ex-wife number one. And see, no amount of my, and again, submissive, feminine, bubbly, charming, cute, right? Pretty, right? My second ex-wife is a 8-point motherfucking O facially. And that's me being as conservative as possible, meaning she's never getting below an 8 on facial dynamics compared to women of her age. Now, the fact that she's a smoker and, she's from Arkansas and there's a certain, the skin, and the wrinkles and stuff are there. Sure. She's not going to have meet, a non-smoker from Southern California of her same age. Her skin is not. I'm talking about the actual underlying facial symmetry and bone structure. And so what's looks maxing talking about? It's clavicular talking about doing micro fractures of his jaw and mandible and all of this to reshape his jaw, right? To provide different facial characteristics. Well, I just happen to have facial characteristics that for whatever reason are desired. I didn't make it that way. I don't know what that is. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. Motherfucker, I was born with it. And I'm here to tell you, most of my life, most people didn't give a flying fuck about my facial characteristics except within certain parameters. Now, everywhere I go, it's just this big, huge fucking deal. I'm treated very differently in 2026 based on my facial characteristics than I was in 2016. The shit has changed. Now, I would argue that social media is what's changed it, but the shit has changed. Period. End of story. And I'm only willing to deal in what is real. I'm only willing to deal with what's real. Now, so why are my facial characteristics become so important? Well, most likely because almost all women are experts in her social media and how her social media appears. And the moment they see my face, part of their brain lights up because they know exactly what my face would look like next to her face on her social media. And I know this. So when I'm walking through the fucking super center or the Whole Foods, that's what happens to me. It has nothing to do with me. It's the bones, right? Because what do women like to say? If you really pin a woman down on what she is attracted to or what she's looking for to be in a relationship with, a masculine man who's also a little feminine. So dominant facial characteristics, but also kind of pretty. That's me. That's my face. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, I don't have much of a chin. I'm doing completely, and one of my eyes ain't really in the right place. Other than that, I'm doing fine. Dominant facial characteristics and also kind of pretty. Testosterone, a testosteronized face, but not overly, meaning that's where the prettiness comes in. It is what it is. So what's happened is society has changed to the point where a masculine man with testosterone who would be willing, because remember, he wants to fuck the pussy. He doesn't necessarily desire to be in a relationship with a woman who's an 8 or a 9 facially. That's not of primary importance. What Clavicular and others and Looksmaxers have figured out is they're going to have to put out the same amount of effort, and they're going to deal with the same nonsense with a 6 or a 5 that they're going to deal with a fucking 9. So they're going to go right to the 9, and the 9, they have no chance with the 9 unless they Looksmax. They have no chance with the 9 unless they Looksmax, and if they have to put in the effort, might as well put the effort towards Looksmaxing to at least put themselves in a category to shoot their shot with 9s. To shoot their shot with 9s. Facial 9s, not her Instagram booty. Nobody gives a fuck about your Instagram booty, toots. We don't care. My erection has nothing to do with your Instagram booty. Just about any of you bends over when I'm having the right amount of hormones in the bloodstream, and I got half a chub down there. If pretty much any of you bends over at the right angle, and I got the right amount of hormones in my bloodstream, I got half a boner. Your Instagram booty is neither here nor there, toots. It doesn't fucking mean anything to me. I don't like yoga pants. I've never liked yoga pants. Never. 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 In fact, it's a turnoff. And if a woman could write all this down, and when her emotions kick in, as they invariably will, hey, all you got to do, toots, is pick up the notebook and start reading the notebook. It has all of the list of things that you have to do to be in a relationship with a masculine dominant man. And if you don't do those things, he's not coming home to you. Because at the end of the day, I choose which vagina I go home to. And she has that's not up to her. She can't do anything to force me. That's the dictatorship. She can't force me to come to her domicile because it's not her domicile. It has to be my domicile. If it's her domicile, she's the dictator. Now, will I potentially go to her domicile, insert my penis, and leave? Yeah, maybe. Nah, it's never been my style. That's Chad knocking on the back door. That's backdoor Chad rearranging them guts and then leaving. And next thing you know, she's in a situationship, thinking that she's got a boyfriend. And then finally, she can't prove that she's actually has a boyfriend. Chad has a boyfriend. She can't prove it. And she has to have the what are we discussion. And then she finds out, oh, I was in a situationship. And now she's mad at Chad. That's not my problem. I'm Chad Light. I never gave a fuck about. Meanwhile, I was in college. Lots of ladies tried to get me to come to their apartments. I had no interest in going to her apartment, putting my dick in her and leaving. Because that doesn't solve a problem, because I'm going to have another boner tomorrow. I'm going to have another boner tomorrow. That's what and sorry for yelling, that's what these women don't understand. It's easy on a one-off, and see, you can call them incels all you want. Clavicular on a one-off can go put his dick in a vagina one time, anytime he fucking wants. It's on his phone. All he's got to do is swipe on his phone or read his DMs. Hey, look, there's a vagina near clavicular. He can go put his penis in and then leave. That's never not available, ladies. That's never not available, ladies. And what has caused this? Feminism. Feminism has created a situation in which anytime I have a boner, I can go put it in a vagina on a one-off, on a one-off, on a one-off. The problem is I'm going to have another boner after that. And in fact, science shows that if I haven't had an ejaculation within a period of time, if I go put my penis in a woman and have an ejaculation, I'm almost guaranteed to have another one a certain number of hours later that I probably wouldn't have had, meaning an erection. And then, meaning my body says, let's have another ejaculation. Women, from a man's perspective, whether he understands this or not, you are a receptacle for the jism. That's what you are. That's what you are. Am I willing to treat you like a human being? Am I willing to treat you well? Yeah, under the right circumstances, provably. Can the lady meet those criteria regardless of how she feels, regardless of what I do? Because it's never fair. It's never, oh, well, why do I have to do all of these things when you get to do whatever the fuck you want half the time? Well, there's an answer to that, lady, but I can't answer that in a way that causes her to feel something. Because remember, it's not about the logic, it's about how she feels about the logic, right? Lady, I have no fucking skills in manipulating your emotions. And remember, I almost chose to become a white pimp, meaning if I'm going to sign myself on to active bitch management as my career, meaning now 25 to 50% of my day is tied up in managing broads' emotions, I'm going to do it with multiple broads simultaneously, and I'm going to take 100% of their income, and I'm going to have them on an allowance. Guess who was on an allowance? Guess whose money I took and put on an allowance? Ex-wife number 2. Guess who fucking loved it and preferred it? Ex-wife number 2. She loved it and she preferred it because she knew that she couldn't leave the house with $100 bill and come home with any money at all. But she knew, hey, I can hand over my paycheck or my daily earnings as a server to my man, who will then hand me a $10 bill and a pack of cigarettes on my way to work, and he'll hold his cheek out and I'll kiss his cheek, and then he'll reach over and give me a squeeze and pat me on my ass and send me on my way. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. She needs that. That's what she gets. I don't need to be in the bed with a woman every night. That's her benefit, is to be in the bed with me at night. What I get is that I get to roll over and put my penis in the vagina anytime I want. That's what I get. I get unfettered access to the vagina anytime I want. That's what I get. She gets all them other things. If she can behave. If she can behave. And the thing is, they will no longer behave. And I don't control that. I don't control whether or not the ladies behave. So how is it that I've had wives and girlfriends my entire adult life, even before that? But let's just stick with 18 plus. I've never not, except for a period of time after my first divorce, I've never not had wives and girlfriends, ever. Ever. And then at this point, I'm basically retired from that. And so do you not think that the Gen Z males are responding to something in the environment that's the same thing I'm responding to? Because remember, my whole life, I just wandered around doing whatever I was doing, and vagina presented itself and said, pick me. Vagina presented itself and said, pick me, my whole life. It did. That was my experience. That's no longer the case. Now vagina presents itself next to me at the grocery store. And if I behave in specific ways, I might be able to get access to the vagina, maybe. Well, I don't play that game. Because I meet a criteria and a standard that takes one look at that and says, well, why would I choose that when that hasn't been my experience? Why? Now, maybe I would accept those dynamics. Nothing short of a facial 9. Nothing short of a 9 in the face. Nothing short of a 9 in the face between the ages of 28 and 35. Nothing. I'm not wasting half a second. Meaning now she's going to have to do the work. So she's going to have to teach herself how to come talk to me at the store based on dynamics of getting me to be willing to invite her into a benevolent dictatorship where I'm the dictator. She's got to behave specific ways for the privilege of being invited into a benevolent dictatorship. Well, that will never jive with feminism. You can't resolve that through layers of feminism. That can never become feminine. That can never become feminine. That can never become feminine. Masculinity cannot perform that. Masculinity cannot perform that. Masculinity cannot perform that because if it can perform that, it's not masculinity. Masculinity, if it performs that, is no longer masculinity. A man ain't a man, got a woman for a boss. Because he's emasculated. If a woman can determine what a man's day looks like, he's not a man. Because he's emasculated. And if he's emasculated, he's a metaphorical eunuch. He's not a man. He doesn't meet the status. So now let's go back to Game of Thrones. There was a main male character that was a eunuch. And he could never, there were certain metrics, there were certain things in society that he simply could not, that were not available to him because he was a eunuch. It was not available to him. Now, was it with boys? Let's just say adult young males, perhaps. Wasn't available to him with women. Wasn't available. And see, none of this is ever going away as long as humans are humans. None of this is ever going to fully go away. Now, if all the males make a female level of testosterone, well, I would say, okay, well, that's no longer biologically what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and say what I'm talking about is only in the context of a male that makes at least 300 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone at a minimum. If I don't care if they're at 250, this doesn't apply. Because I'm walking around with at least 700 most of the time. Not always. It's on a spectrum like almost everything else. Yes, at age 50, I will bet you $1,000 you could give me a week and I get to schedule the test that I can score a 700 or higher on a testosterone blood test. I will bet you $1,000 at age 50. I don't want to hear this bullshit that a man's testosterone declines with age. That's a lie. No, it doesn't. As a group, men's testosterone declines with age. What does that have to do with me? Because I had mine checked at age 38. It was 1,106 nanograms per deciliter, which medically, my lady doctor said, this was her exact words, your testosterone levels are abnormally high. She wanted to check me for some kind of glandular problem. I said, no, lady, it runs in the family. So I would argue that, and remember, it's looks maxing. So if there's another man in the super center with comparable testosterone levels to me, but he doesn't have the pretty boy face, meaning he's got the dominant facial characteristics, but not the pretty boy, guess who gets preferred? Me. So women are now screening out males under a certain standard of facial characteristics, even if the guy meets everything else. Even if he meets everything else. Because remember, her vagina still gets wet for the guy who doesn't have the pretty boy in his facial characteristics. You know, the so-called strong silent type, the more barbarians amongst us. You think those guys don't make a lady's vagina wet much of the time? Of course they do. But He don't have a face. So yeah, he can be Chad and come in the back door and then he can leave. He can't. He's not relationship material. See, so clavicular knows that his face has got to be relationship material, and if he's going to go through whatever he has to go through to make to as much as possible turn his face into that. Meanwhile, without any looks maxing, he still probably meets that standard. But in his youth, he hasn't had the effects of testosterone long enough. That's why men get more handsome. I'm still getting better looking, ladies. So when the lady said, "You're old," lady, I'm still getting more handsome. I don't know what to tell you. I thought I peaked at about age 42. I'm actually getting more handsome. I don't know what that is. It's happening. I have no fucking idea. Maybe it's because I've recovered from illness. I'm still getting better looking. A 50-year-old woman her looks have been declining for at least 15 years. Her facial looks, not her body. Women, their faces don't get more attractive from age 20 to age 30. My face became more attractive from age 20 to 30, and it also became more attractive from ages 30 to 40 and 40 to 50. Now, at some point, that will end. It hasn't ended yet. I'm 50. I'm still getting better looking. So when I look at my 3 relationships, surprise, surprise, each lady's been more attractive than the last. That's what you're dealing with, ladies. Whether you choose to accept that or not, it doesn't change the reality that if you think you're going to be in a committed relationship for 10, 20 years with a dominant masculine man, he's going to get better looking and your looks are going to slide. So if you're going to keep him in a relationship, it's going to be behaviorally based. It's going to be your behavior is going to keep him around. Your face ain't keeping him around. Your vagina's not keeping him around because that's the price of admission is a functioning vagina that I'm able to roll over at 2 a.m. and if I'm feeling froggy or frisky. And they say, and see, feminism says, well, why are you entitled to that? Well, I mean, I'll happily answer why I'm entitled. And yes, I'm entitled to that. If I'm willing to accept a committed romantic relationship with a female partner, I'm entitled to roll over at 2 a.m. and stick my dick in her pussy. Now, if she says no, that's fine. I'm not coming home to her if she says no to me. I understand consent, ladies. Say no all you want. That doesn't work in your favor either. That only works with who? The so-called beta boys. Oh, you can turn me down all you want. No fucking problem. Meaning that ain't my problem. Because do I prefer one vagina to the next? Well, if I know I might not want to go out here and approach 100 facially 9 women to end up in a relationship with one. But remember, the relationship is not my primary reason for being in the thing. See, it's I'm willing to accept a relationship so that if I want to roll over at 2 a.m, there's a vagina there ready and waiting, or that can quickly be made ready. That's never going to change. That's never going to change. Your opinion, irrelevant. Your feelings, irrelevant. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. Because I can go to the super center, and if I go 4 times, there's a pretty high likelihood that I'm just going to be lost in my thoughts, and I'm going to look to my right, and there's just going to be an attractive woman there, just standing there waiting for me to talk to her. And all I got to do is talk to her. And if I do that enough times to get 10 of those, but see what I'm saying? I don't even have to do anything other than take them up on their offer to have a vagina to put my penis in. See what I'm saying? If I'm actually expected to do all this other bullshit, then I'm only going to put that effort into 9 pluses, 9.0 plus facially, 9.0 plus facially. And the vast majority of all women, that ain't them. So what has happened is feminism has now successfully screened out almost all of the ladies. Now, who is more likely to have an available pool of 9 plus women? Right. Is it the proletariat or is it the so-called elites? Right. And so I've had a fascination with Meghan Markle. People like to make fun of ladies like Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle is damn near a 9.0 in the face. Now, you can argue with me all you want. She's just about a 9.0 in the face. Meghan Markle is. Just about. So why wouldn't I be fascinated with her on some level? Now, she's crazy as a fucking loon, but not in a criminal way, as far as I can tell. Right? And so, yeah, is Harry putting up with a bunch of nonsense? Yeah, he is. Look at what he's got on his arm, though, because Harry is going to put up with the same level of nonsense from a 6. So the 6s are no longer on. Why would I bother? And so this is what I mean. If I start talking to 6s at the super center, a 6 can't get through the first 5 minutes of interacting with me without annoying the fuck out of me. If I'm annoyed within the first 5 minutes, ladies, there's absolutely no chance of any ongoing interaction. It's now doomed forever, meaning I've completely lost interest and it cannot be rekindled. There's nothing you can do. If the lady does anything in the first 5 minutes to annoy me, it's over. And I'm here to tell you, the vast majority of all women cannot get through the first 5 minutes with me without annoying the fuck out of me. It's not possible. They can't do it. Now they could learn. They could learn how to get through the first 5 minutes, but not based on their feelings. They can't ever feel like learning, and they can't ever just happen to be next to me and in a space of feeling like talking to me for 5 minutes without annoying me. See, that's too many things that need to happen simultaneously. It would be too serendipitous. It would be too serendipitous. See? Too serendipitous. And remember, if I'm going to have to go put out all that effort and it's still theoretically possible for me to end up in a relationship, 9.0 facially or bust. So sorry. Now, on occasion, am I getting followed around? And it happened in Hope, Arkansas. Something about that Hope, Arkansas super center. And I've never dated a blonde. This one woman was a blondie, about 32 to 35. She was a fucking 8.0 in the face. And at that point, I basically lost my shit because it was like 3 of them trying to get my attention simultaneously. And she was facially so good looking. At that point, I said, well, this is a clear sign that society is something's gone very, very wrong within so-called society. If this is, what even is this at this point? This is crazy. And that's when I felt like I needed to announce, rhetorically to the environment, basically a version of, can't y'all understand that if I was in the market, I wouldn't be on the market, meaning I would get snatched up so quickly. It's effectively impossible that I'm open to a relationship and I just happen to be here at the super center at the same time as you ladies. It's just about impossible. Meaning if I was in the market for a relationship, I would not be available. I would already have a woman. That's why she can't ever turn me down sexually if I'm in a relationship with her, because there's already 2 to 3 to 4 women, and she absolutely with 100% certainty knows that if she turns me down, I may just very well, instead of coming home to her that night, I might go home to one of them. And that's never going to change, ladies. That's never going to change. Now, am I willing to modify my behavior and not take advantage? See, and not take advantage of the situation. See, Chad just takes advantage of the situation, and I'm not here to tell Chad he's right or he's wrong. That's what he's doing from my perspective. He's taking advantage of women. I like women. See, Chad may not like women at all. Chad may strongly dislike women, but he's physically attracted to them. In biology, the parts line up in certain ways. And it is what it is. And so women can mock and ridicule all they want and make fun of it and, oh, you're old, you're this, you're that. A woman in a committed romantic relationship with me is guaranteed internal vaginal orgasms on a regular basis. Now, does the frequency of those orgasms decline with my age? Absolutely. But with my penis alone, I guarantee her a vaginal orgasm, meaning no clitoral stimulation required. Most males cannot say that. I am 100% confident and certain of that. And you can mock and ridicule me all you want. I put my name on it. It is what it is. And when a guy knows that about himself, why would he ever put himself in a category with these males who will never meet that standard one time in their life? And if anybody remembers a content creator in the so-called truth community, Zetetic Warrior, at a certain point, once his beard got shaved, and I looked at his face and I said, well, there's the face of a man who's never given a woman a internal vaginal orgasm with his penis. So of course he behaves towards women in certain ways, because he knows that he can't ever meet that standard. It's not my problem. Now, maybe he could. You know, is penis maxing a thing? I don't know. Maybe it is, and maybe I know a lot about it. Not my problem. So if clavicular takes the nerdy part of his brain and does a bunch of research and competes with the other males, because he recognizes that if he competes initially and then he goes and puts all this effort into a relationship with a highly attractive woman, and a highly attractive only ever means facial dynamics, ladies. It doesn't mean your job. It doesn't mean your education. It doesn't mean that you're a supportive spouse. We don't care. We don't care. We don't care. We're not having sex with your bank account. We're not having sex with your education. We're not having sex with any of that. None of that gives us a boner. And if damn near any of you bends over at the proper angle when a certain level of hormones are coursing through my blood, I've got half a Woody anyway. So what do you want? Now, maybe not at age 50. Certainly when I was 28. Fuck. Are you crazy? And ladies, you'll never know what it's like to just be out in the world with a certain level of androgens and a penis. And being visually stimulated. You'll never know what that is. 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 That needs to be in a notebook somewhere that a woman can go to her notes and remind herself when she's feeling some type of way. That's the reality of the situation, and nobody's feelings, nobody's opinions, no matter what the pundits say, that cannot be changed. It can't be changed. Doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter what you mock, doesn't matter what you ridicule, doesn't matter what feminism says, doesn't matter how feminism has been performed, doesn't matter what political correctness is. Doesn't fucking matter. So if a woman teaches herself how to talk to me and approach me and understand and accept and trust that I'm a man, and I will have the opportunity to hurt her feelings and make her feel ridicule and shame because she's being vulnerable by coming up and approaching me and talking to me. Right. If she understands that and she trusts, which is what? A feminine characteristic. If she trusts me enough to say, well, here, this seems like a guy who has experience with women, and he'll probably let me down gently. But she has to facilitate that. Because the moment she annoys me and triggers my undiagnosed fake autism, I'm just going to shut down. The last time a woman actually approached me, and I don't mean the Gen Z chick, there was a Hispanic lady who was, I didn't find her attractive, but, she was probably had a level of education, had a level, she was in shape. She was, probably late 30s, early 40s, right? She had her makeup done, her hair done, business casual, right? Shoulder pads. And so her world is what? Assertion, aggression, dominance. And Western society has falsely indoctrinated people that the way anything achievable is only achievable through means of assertion, aggression, dominance. So she thought she saw an opportunity to interact with me as a potentially neurodivergent, undiagnosed fake autistic man but it's not apparent. It's hidden. And because I was selecting limes, and I have the neurodivergence is I have criteria, and I also understand that I'm so prone to analysis and I'm so detail oriented that I run the risk of spending 45 motherfucking minutes scrutinizing the lines. I have to choose a line within a reasonable period of time. And I'm running the risk of accidentally buying a line that is really not the best of the best because I'm squeezing juice. So she observes this, and I'm attractive enough for her to start to talk to me. But her basis is, oh, let me help you, sir. But she can't assist me. And now she wants to instruct me. Ladies, if you try to talk to me and you give me instructions within the first 5 minutes, I'm annoyed. And it's now guaranteed I'm not going to have anything to do with you going forward. And by the way, under assertion, aggression, dominance, she now must persist after I signal with my body language, I'm not open to this. I'm no longer. In fact, I was never open to it because women don't have approach skills in the first place. She didn't correctly read my body language to understand that I wasn't open to it anyway. But let's just say I had neutral body language. It's still on her she has to take ownership of the physical dynamics of the interaction to allow me to be open to it. Because when I choose to go approach women, as I've done in the past, that's my job as the approacher. I have to manage my physicality, and I need to read her body language to the moment that the dynamic shifts, that's her signaling she's not interested in me. But her face may not show it. Her tone of voice may not show it in a vacuum. Her content of her words may not show it in a vacuum. The entirety of the messaging is, sir, that sir would be too bold. Like Cameron Diaz. like Cameron Diaz from Gangs of New York. She lets the guy interact with her. He knew all of the dynamics and the cues every step of the way because it's her choice if he's going to get to put his penis in her vagina without him going fucking club her over the head, drag her back to the cave style. And after she fleeces him and picks his pockets without a change of facial expression, without a change in dynamics with her body language, that, sir, would be too bold. Now he's free to extricate himself without embarrassment. See? And the dynamics of the time being more formalized facilitated that. The dynamics are no longer formalized enough to facilitate that. It is chaos, ladies. It's chaos. And so under chaos and a mudding of the waters, the woman can always put it back on me. The moment things seemingly go awry, she can always have a confused facial expression and put it off on me. Guess what? That creates a tension in the environment that I don't have to accept. So here's how this interaction ended. It ended with me saying verbally, no, thank you. And now she doesn't have a comfortable way to extricate herself. Now she scrunches her face, right? And she scrunches her face, and her body language now introduces a tension into the environment. And as the male, I'm expected to resolve the tension. That doesn't belong to me. I didn't create this tension, woman. You created it. I will not pick it up. So all I did was say, I finally ended the interaction by basically saying, as close to leave me the fuck alone as I could say without it just appearing like just an insane asshole. I got as close to saying, pretty please with sugar on top, would you leave me the fuck alone and stop talking to me? Thank you. Literally. I don't remember what I said. That was the message I conveyed to her in the moment because I did not want to interact with her further, and I'm not obligated to interact with her further. I was, in fact, trapped in line attempting to purchase products at a grocery store. And in fact, looking back on it, I should have just left my shit there and came back later. And probably if that repeated itself, I just would have. The moment it started going south from meaning what I'm willing to interact with, I probably should just walk the fuck away. But being a human being, whatever that means, right? Treating her as if she might be a human being really is what I mean. To treat her as if she might actually be a human being, meaning that she gives a fuck whatsoever about me as a human, right? Meaning that maybe she gives a fuck about me as a human, right? To sort of what? Give her the respect that she might be something akin to what I am, when that respect is not a two-way street. Hey, lady, what do I got to say to get you to leave me the fuck alone? Again, assertion, aggression, dominance. When all else fails, muddy of the waters, make it look like he's done something wrong. The only thing I did wrong was come in here with this face and these characteristics thinking I could buy things in a supposedly free country without being invaded and transgressed upon. That's harassment. If I was a woman, that would be a man, and she was a man, that would be harassment. Period. If that happened in a workplace, that's HR gets involved if it's a man and a woman. That happens to me some percentage of the time, whether verbally, non-verbally, or both. That's what I go through, ladies. 100% on something of a regular, ongoing basis. That's what I go through. And I don't need you to like it. I don't need you to understand it. I will have it my motherfucking way, or I will be by myself. And you can call me lonely all you want. I have never experienced loneliness for one moment in my entire adult life, I don't know what it is. I don't know what loneliness is. See, a woman is assuming because because she, right? Because she, because she, because she is projecting onto me how she thinks she would feel based on dynamics. That's not my experience. And that happened in this chat earlier. Something claiming to be a woman came into the chat and tried to put all of that onto me and said something about loneliness. I don't know what you're talking about. I've never experienced it. Meaning, I turned 18, and from 18 until now, I've never experienced loneliness. I've heard about it. I feel like I believe that I understand it intellectually. I will never be able to relate to it because I've never experienced it and most likely never will. See, a woman is projecting a more feminine trait onto a masculine man. That's a mistake, lady. Now, if I'm dumb enough to internalize that, then that's just me being dumb. Guess what? I'm not dumb enough. So sorry about your luck. It don't belong to me and I won't pick it up. I don't know what loneliness is. I enjoy spending insane amounts of time by myself. And I don't have the capacity to experience loneliness. Don't have the capacity. I don't know what you mean. And I turned the chat off, so I have to assume that those comments are no longer available on your screen to the listener, but they're still on my screen since I'm using StreamYard. You may be lonely. You're old, Benton. No, that's a woman assuming and projecting that at her age, without a romantic partner, what she believes she would feel. What does that have to do with me and my emotions, ladies? I'm a man. You'll never know what it feels like to go through so-called life as a man. You'll never know it. You can't know it. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. By the way, how dare you? By the way, how dare you? By the way, how dare you? And if you think I would spend 5 minutes with the type of woman that would talk to me that way, you're crazy. I wouldn't give 5 minutes of my time to a woman that the first time she behaved that way towards me would be the last time. That would be the end of it. Literally, there would not be a second time. There would be a first time. There would not be a second time. So, and what is this spiritual attack of telling me what I am? You're lonely. Not only is that not possible, it's never been the case. And it most likely never will be the case. And guess what? If it's possible for the future, I can't emotionally respond to the potential future lack of a state that I've never experienced. I can't perform that. That's literally not possible. So let's just say maybe one day Ben somehow lonely and this woman was right, because it's really what she means is it's the fear of dying alone. It's the fear of dying alone, right? I don't, number one, you're assuming I experience much in the way of fear at all. Again, man with statistically high testosterone, scientifically provable high testosterone, those are not generally a cohort of humans that are prone to fear or being fear-based. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but it's generally not the thing. Generally. And here's another thing. So when I asked the question, are you between the ages of 25 and 30, 28 and 35, and seeking specific relationship with a specific type of male, meaning dominant man, right? And also willing to be feminine, well, not willing to be, are submissive and feminine, as long as I am the masculine man. And of course I am, because I've never failed to achieve that standard. You know, maybe a moment or two here and there. 99% of every moment of this so-called life, Benton has checked the box, dominant masculine man, check. And you know how I know? Because yesterday, me and two dominant masculine men physically unloaded a motherfucking truck together. And one of these guys I've interacted with, and the other guy, the most dominant and masculine of the three of us, most likely, I had never been around him. And I operate on those levels. And a dominant masculine man doesn't operate on those levels with anything that doesn't meet a minimum standard of dominant masculinity. And in fact, at a certain point, I forgot my place, and I communicated in a little too dominant of a way with who, and again, alpha male is situational. So as all three of us as alpha males, and again, I don't even like the alpha beta terminology, but he was the alpha of the situation. And I accidentally mogged the alpha, who immediately performed in a way very, very expertly without any sort of tension, and was able to communicate and remind me of who the dominant one was. And because of that masculine dominant male hierarchy, I immediately went back to playing my position, because that's the natural order of things. And then it reminded me, because here's how he said, and here's how he righted the ship. He was doing us a favor because he's the boss of that facility at that time. And I'm the truck driver who's presumably trying to hustle off to get reloaded, which was the case. And he probably knew that. And I forgot that for the moment. And he was doing me and his underling a favor. And so he asserted his dominance by removing himself physically from the situation. And then I came back and said, well, wait a minute, the guy's not here, because I assumed that he was going to help us throughout the entirety of the unloading. He just went back to his office and started doing his thing. And then I remembered, oh yeah, he was doing me a favor. And here's what a man does. Now I'm not necessarily just free to walk into the office, but I did. Meanwhile, there's no women work in that office. It's only males work at this place. I went into the office, and he don't even have a door on his office. And I heard him in there clickety clackety. And I said, hey man, thank you for your help. And he looked up, acknowledged me, and just basically made a hand motion and was like, yeah, man. And went back to whatever the fuck he was doing. And that's me also acknowledging, like, hey, whether or not maybe I committed a faux pas, at least whatever we needed to communicate to each other, it got communicated. We're all good. If I ever see him again, everything's gravy. Doesn't matter that momentarily I asserted dominance where it really wasn't appropriate. And it's just because that's the way I am. It's just what I do. Yeah, it just naturally pours out of me, right? And part of the neurodivergence and the undiagnosed fake autism is I end up doing it when, if I was a little more socially adept, I would know not to do it. It just happens, right? But I do understand social dynamics enough to know, well, not that I have to, I don't get anything out of it, but based on my what? A man is a man based on what? His masculine code. My masculine code says I got to go thank that man, because if what I assumed was going to happen and we all unloaded the truck together, then I was going to say, hey man, thank you for help. Thank you. Now that he's gone back to his actual job, now I got to go find him if he's available. And if not, I'm going to say to his underling, hey man, I tried to go find that other guy that I wasn't even introduced to, and I'm assuming he's the boss. If you don't mind, next time you see him, would you say, "Hey, that truck driver asked me to tell you thanks for helping," which is an acknowledgement of, "Hey, he didn't have to help us. He chose to help us." And women, you'll never know anything about that. Society has trained y'all to go out here and perform in the workplace based on assertion, aggression, dominance. If you think you're going to go into any situation whatsoever with dominant masculinity and you're going to act towards dominant masculinity with assertion and aggression and dominance, you're out of your fucking mind. You're out of your fucking mind. You'll be skull fricked into abomination. You'll be skull fricked into obliteration. You'll be skull fricked into obliteration. Literally. Literally. If a woman goes into those dynamics with assertion, aggression, and dominance, and she never stops attempting assertion and aggression, dominance, somebody will eventually smash her the fuck out. And I don't mean sexually. That's what will happen. Now, will I do it? Absolutely not. Nope. Guess who's a pacifist and does not use violence against anybody ever in his entire adult life? That he wasn't married to legally. And again, you can take that to mean whatever you take it to mean. I've certainly never struck another adult who didn't strike me first. I'll go ahead and tell you that. You think you can slap old Benton without getting slapped back? I don't know what to tell you. That ain't gonna happen. Now, it may or may not be a physical slap, but that cannot occur, see. And so, yeah, I understand there's a proportion of women who could physically pin me to the fucking ground and I would be unable to get up off the ground. I'm never defenseless. You know why? Because I could crush her skull and end her life with just my skull. Because in order for her to pin me to the ground, her skull would be in physical proximity to my skull, unless we're getting into some really crazy dude jujitsu. I don't know. She got me in a fucking heel lock. I guess you're just going to have to tear that bitch off, lady. Because there's nothing you can do to my ankle to cause me to lose consciousness. I guess you just going to have to tear that bitch off. And you don't have the hand strength. I don't know what to tell you. But I know this. The women who are physically capable of pinning me to the ground, my skull, if I bash it into her skull enough times, will end her life. And yeah, that's very disturbing to think about. It's the fucking facts. My greater bone density will win. My stronger neck muscles will win. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Take a look at this Adam's apple. I don't know what to tell you. You know, I'm not a fighter. I don't have fighting skills. But my entire adult life, I felt like I could probably headbutt a motherfucker if I needed to. So probably I could. I'd rather not ever find out. And so women have been lied to and actually believe that they can physically do anything whatsoever against a man. Well, kind of, but not in the final analysis, not in a fight to the death. No, you can't. No, you cannot. Not in a one-on-one. Not without some sort of subterfuge or trickery or treachery. Nope. If it's a fight to the death, my skull wins. My neck muscles and my skull wins. And yours loses, ladies. And there's nothing you can ever do to change that. That's unchangeable. And guess what? Within male hierarchies, when two men compete, in a one-on-one, whether physical or intellectual, as long as they're closely matched enough, such as chess, the man with the higher testosterone typically wins. And so when I talk about the alpha male of the three alpha males, well, do I have high testosterone? Yes. Does the underling that works there? Yes. Guess who's got more? The alpha male of the situation. And that's just what it is. And men accept it because that's what's biologically within them. And women, you will never understand that and you will never experience that for one moment of your life, just like I will most likely never experience loneliness. It's never going to happen, most likely. You're never going to know what that's like. But society allows you to behave based on those dynamics in the workplace, in education, maybe even in the church. Maybe even in the church. And then you get into the feminist idea of the battle between the sexes and this idea that, well, you know, women are oppressed because men are scary and dangerous. Guess who's also scared of scary, dangerous men? I am. You think because I got a dick and balls and testosterone, I'm not also at times fearful of some of these motherfuckers are scary as fuck. Are you crazy? I'd have to be literally insane to not feel fear near some of these people. I have to have courage, meaning I gotta. Sometimes I'm around these scary motherfuckers, and I gotta let these scary motherfuckers know, like, look, man, I'm not trying to get involved with whatever you got going on, but I just gotta let him know. If you bring it to me, I'm not gonna have any choice but to fight you as hard as I fucking can, and while knowing I'm probably gonna lose, but that's just I got to let him know there's no meat on the bone, meaning, hey, I'm not telling him how to not be aggressive and not be scary. Take that shit over there, buddy. Whatever I got to do that's fine, man. But at the same time, doesn't mean I'm just going to start catering to him. If he forces my hand, I might be forced into a situation where if I'm not able to withdraw, I might have to fight this motherfucker. You know, I might not be able to acquiesce. So part of the genius of Benton is 18 to 50 years old, 99% of the time managing those dynamics. My mind is my weapon without ever having to get physical. Some men, that's all they got is the physical. Surprise, surprise, that's who's running around trying to make things physical. It's somebody's trying to make them physical. Because within the male hierarchies, at some point, it will be communicated well in advance. Hey, buddy, you're barking up the wrong tree. And then every once in a while, two almost equally matched dominant males go Hulk smash on each other, and that's a bad day for everybody. That's a bad day for everybody. That happened at my junior high at a certain age when the testosterone started flowing. And that was a bloody scene in a hallway. I went to one of them type of schools and I managed them dynamics and didn't have to fist fight nobody. My only real actual fist fight in school was in like 5th grade. Because I didn't yet understand that you can't mouth off around some of these black kids because they're just going to immediately punch you in the fucking mouth. I learned my lesson from that. Okay, well, Benton can run his yap, but there's a limit to that. That was a good lesson to learn because my white classmates weren't necessarily willing to teach it to me. And I wasn't. Well, I was never going to just punch somebody in the mouth because of what they said. Now I would figure out a way to get the better of them in other ways. And so what women do is when they talk about what they don't have in their life, which is a man, they do what I'm doing now and they talk about women. See, I started out talking about women and now I'm talking about men because the one thing leads to the next. But unless a constant refocusing towards women happens, we'll just end up talking about men. So unless the woman forces herself to continually refocus onto what she claims to want, or she could just admit to herself that, yeah, part of her wants a man, but she's not willing to do what would have to happen. That's why Benton is, quote, lonesome, which he's not. But if it's seen as a negative that Benton's by himself, I'm certainly by myself when it comes to romance, dating, and relationships. If somebody else assumes that that's a negative, that's they're doing that. I'm not doing that. But the reframe, she has to reframe. Why would I reframe? I'm the shit. I'm the one who can dole out the vaginal orgasms with my member. I'm the one, not her. What can she do for me that every other woman can't do for me? What can she do for me that every other woman can't or won't do for me? I'll answer the question, behave. That's the only way she can distinguish herself. The only way she can overcome her 6 or 7 face and distinguish herself is through her behavior. She can't do it with her money. She can't do it with her job. She can't do it with the house she's already bought. She can't do it with the cars in the driveway. She can't do it with whatever toys she might be able to purchase that we could both, now we can go jet ski on the lake. Bitch, I was on the lake with a jet ski. In fact, I learned to slalom ski because my high school girlfriend with a Playboy bikini body, literally 36, 24, 36, prettiest titties I've ever seen, whether in person, movies, magazines, or otherwise, physically fucking taught me to slalom ski, which is to ski on one ski. Bitch, I done been out to the lake with a bitch on jet skis. I don't need, if I want to go jet ski, I'll go rent some motherfucking jet skis. And I will, if I want to do that with a lady, she'll be a 9.0 in the face. Because it'll be up to me to facilitate all that. And if you think a masculine dominant man is showing up to your house to go to the lake with you on your jet skis, you're out of your fucking mind. It will never happen. Will beta, as my voice cracks, will beta, ha ha ha, the realm has a sense of humor. Will the so-called beta boys show up? Yes. Are they dominant masculine men? No. So therefore, what the woman claims to want, what part of her responds to, she is guaranteeing with her behavior that she will not experience it. Maybe it will go knock, 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 rearrange the guts, and leave, aka situationship. And it's only a situationship if the same Chad returns repeatedly over a period of time because he likes the shape of the body that's attached to the vagina, which that's all that is. He likes the shape that's attached to the body that encapsulates the vagina. That's it. It's not your bank account. It's not your jet skis. It's not your education. It's not your business. It's not ever any of those things. It's the shape of your body. If you didn't have a vagina, what could you do that I would tolerate you? Act right. It's the same thing, because if you having what every other woman has is the same as if none of you had it. Meaning, if I'm only gonna be with one of you at a time, all I can do is absolutely guarantee that whichever one I choose to be with will behave. That's it. I control whether or not I coexist in a physical space in the context of a committed monogamous relationship over a period of time with a woman. I control if she behaves properly or not, meaning I don't make her behave. The moment she stops behaving the way that I need her to behave, the moment she stops behaving the way that I need her to behave, I don't come home to her. Meaning it's my house, it's my apartment. Now I got to go somewhere else for the night. Surprise, surprise. One of the best, if a man thinks he's going to deal with women, one of the best skills he could ever develop is the ability to go sleep in a ditch, whether literally or metaphorically. Bitch, I'll go sleep in a ditch. Meaning the moment she starts tripping, hey, lady, I'd rather sleep in a ditch than come home to this. What do you think that does to a woman when a guy like me just looks her in the face and says, hey, I'd rather go sleep in a ditch than come home to this one more night of my life? Meaning if you were the last vagina on earth, I'd still rather go sleep in a ditch right now. You could have the only one between your legs that in existence, and I'd still rather come home to a ditch than come home to you tonight. Meaning she has to behave. Or, oh, Benton, you're lonely, you're old. Well, Benton ain't wired for loneliness, so sorry, I hate to break it to you. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I ain't got the wiring for that. So try again. Attack me again. Do you think I go home to women that attack me? Now, yeah, maybe attack me, meaning sometimes they run at me and jump on me as I come through the door. That was one of the benefits of getting up to 195 pounds with a significant amount of muscle mass. Was at times she would physically take off running and jump and climb on top, literally climb me. And all I would do was stand there and provide a strong, stable base. And then, I don't know, 5% of our lovemaking was us with my feet on the ground and hers never touching the ground. Am I providing you with a visual now, ladies? Now, at 150 pounds, can I do that? If you're 90 pounds, sure. She was 112. I could do it at 170, 175, 155 pound Benton. It becomes less and less of you. And as I get older, I no longer have the strength or the vigor to do that. 35-year-old Benton could do all kind of crazy shit physically. Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise. And if the glass broke at 2 a.m, and I go downstairs to face my potential demise, right? And a 35-year-old Benton went downstairs to face his potential demise. Part of Benton likes it and says, I can't wait to see who thinks they can break into my house. And some percentage of those men, I was physically capable of just picking them up off the ground and body slamming their bitch asses. And they say, oh, really? Yeah, really. If a 150-pound meth head was in my living room trying to grab hold of my TV at 2 a.m, was I physically capable at 195 pounds of running over, grabbing him, and doing whatever the fuck I wanted to him physically? Yes, absolutely. Did my father, my gigantic, scary father, physically thwart an armed robbery in a convenience store? Yeah. He ran over, grabbed that motherfucker, threw him up against the wall, held him up against the wall with one hand, cocked his fist back with the other one and said, you're going to prison, motherfucker. Yeah, that's my genetics. That's my genetics. And when I'm walking around the fucking super center, part of her biology expertly detects that that's in my genes, meaning Benton may not be physically able to do that. If Benton inseminates her and she produces a male offspring with her genetics might be able to do that. And now her male heir is going to be in the future version of a super center, spreading her genetics potentially as far as possible. It's all this is, folks. It's all it is. It ain't nothing else. Collecting the genes. That's all it is. The male spreads, the female collects. The male spreads the genes. If the woman spreads her legs, meaning lays down and accepts the conquering. And that's why, ladies, if I cheat, it's not as bad as when you cheat, because you lay down and are conquered. I go out and conquer. It's worse when you cheat. than when I cheat, because you spread them for another man and let him conquer you. I went out and slayed some puss. One is not the same as the other. And don't hate me because I got it like that. And yeah, can I still do that stuff? Yeah, maybe twice, 2 to 3 times a month. So that's kind of a raw deal for a woman, don't you think? Why would a 28 to 35-year-old woman accept that? Because I'll tell you why, fellas. Because a woman who's 28, between the ages of 28 and 35, would rather cohabitate with a man of 50 years who was only going to give that to her, let's just say twice on average, 24 times a month. I'm going to give her a physical version of what I'm talking about. And a guy her own age is not going to give it to her at all. And now some of the guys her own age are capable of it. She can't get them. She can't get them. Maybe Chad will show up and rearrange the guts for a time, and she's in a situationship. She cannot get a relationship with a man near her age that can do what I can do when I was 35 with that frequency. So she'll only get the 50-year-old frequency. And I'm here to tell you, they would rather have it 2 to 3 times a month than to never have it one time from, if anybody knows the Zetetic Warrior, his clean-shaven beta boy face. Soft and as pure as the driven snow. And what do they say, ladies? What did the ladies used to say? A good man is hard to find, but a hard man is good to find. That doesn't just mean erection. It also means a hard man. What's a hard man? He ain't putting up with your bullshit. He is not tolerating your bullshit. The beta boys will tolerate your bullshit. They don't have a choice. They're not hard. They're soft. They're soft. So again, I'll bring it back to if a woman actually knows what she responds to in a man and she understands it and is willing to tell you, here's what she'll say. A masculine dominant man who's still also a little feminine. Guess who's not ever afraid? Guess who's not ever been afraid to express himself in a feminine way with his woman? Me. AKA vulnerability. It's never bothered me. I don't want other people to be around. That's not going to happen. I've never bothered me. Why would I be bothered? Why would that bother me? Right in front of my woman, who cares? Who cares? Because when it's go time, part of me likes go time. Oh, look, here comes the fucking invading hordes coming over the fucking tree line. Oh, Benton looks for the nearest weapon, picks it up, and goes running at him. And when that's in a fella, women are experts in detecting that in a man. Society no longer needs that from males. Women don't need it from males. But she still wants to lay in bed at night with that level of man. But she believes that society's taught her she's entitled to that type of man behaving in ways that he can't behave in those ways or he's no longer that thing because it's a status and he loses his man card. I won't ever lose my man card. See? And you've got people in prison for life, right? Because they were in the penitentiary. Let's say they'd had a 5-year sentence and some big, scary, evil, wicked motherfucker was attracted to their, especially this happens to the white guys sometimes, because they got R-worded and they decided they couldn't live with that. And they murdered the person that did that to them. And now they're in life for the rest. Now they will never get out of prison. That happens. right? Now they kept their man card. And in prison, yeah, 20 years from now, 20 years from that event, that story will still be told in the prison and attached to that person. He's a man. He's not a man. So let's say he that happened to him and he gets out of prison 3.5 years later. He's not a man for them 3.5 years. And if he runs into anybody on the street who knows about that, he's not a man. But if he's in that prison for the rest of his life, 20 years onward, he has his manhood, because that's the only way to unring that bell. He's got to end the life of the man that done that to him. That's what we live with, ladies. There's absolutely men who, under the right circumstances, I'm not physically able to stop that from happening. You think I don't know that? Guess what? The man that did that to him, there's a man who can do that to him. That's the really scary part of it. And if there's a man that can do that to that man, there's a man who could do it to two of the original men simultaneously. Y'all will never. Now, do women understand that in a way? Sure. You'll never understand it like a man understands it. Do I foresee experiencing that? I know I do not. Do I understand that's within the realm of possibility? Oh yeah. Yes, I do. Don't want no parts of it. Is that part of what keeps high testosterone dominant masculine men like me out of criminality? You're goddamn right it does. The fact that there's a building filled with those scary motherfuckers somewhere. Oh yeah. And I can say my mind is my weapon till I'm blue in the face, but you know, it still would have been tough sledding if I had gone into the penitentiary at age 17. It would have been tough motherfucking sledding. And I'd probably still be there. I'd probably still had to been like, well, can't lose my manhood. Got to get my manhood back. Life without. That's what it is to be a man, woman, ladies. You'll never know it. And yes, it's men that provide a world in which, yeah, some horrible shit, lots of horrible shit apparently happens to women. Just imagine what would happen to 100% of you if men didn't make sure that it didn't happen. Men, collectively. And most of y'all is man haters, whether you know it or not. Most of you is man haters, whether you know it or not. Most of you is man haters. I got my own mama. My own mama has issues with me at times that she doesn't have with my own father, because I remind her of him, but I ain't him. Meaning she's attracted to him to this day. She ain't attracted to me. I'm her son. But I got all characteristics and mannerisms of somebody that she allowed to do a lot of damage to her in certain ways. And if I look at her wrong, she bursts into fucking tears. My own mama. It's because I look almost exactly like my dad. The older I get, that's not quite the case, but for much of my life. And I looked like him when he was doing most of that damage. See, he doesn't look like that anymore. You know, I had spent however many years, I looked just like he looked when he was doing whatever he was doing to her from her perspective. That's sick, man. And I'm so astute and observant, I figured it out. She doesn't even know. She don't even know it. I think I finally just told her, but in a very non-judgmental, accepting way. Yeah, well, you know, I don't know if you know this, but this is a thing. She's like, wow, really? I had no idea. I was like, yeah, it's a thing. I didn't even tell her not to do it. It was matter of fact, it was like, yeah, this is what it is. Oh yeah. And I realized at first I was able to understand and accept that my father never, quote, loved me. And a lot of that is culturally because there's a thing in Southern culture, this idea that being too tender and loving with the boy will make him homosexual. And then just the general repressed homosexuality of the culture. And then also, if that's one thing to not love me, I realized finally he never liked me, meaning this motherfucker actively disliked his own son. That's fucked up. See, in my world, that ain't even possible. I didn't even understand that that could happen. So when I talk about the parent-child dynamics, and people are like, "Oh, what do you know about it?" Motherfucker, I got a mommy and a daddy. That's what I know about it. I grew up. My father came home to my mother every night. That's what I know about it. A very masculine, dominant man did his duty, meaning he made sure that I expressed in a dominant, masculine fashion, while paying for my upbringing. Right? I mean, that's my version of did right by me. A man who actively disliked me still did right by me. That's part of being a man, ladies. Y'all got to feel it to perform it, unless it's the job. And see, this is why I know that you can overcome your feelings and back properly towards a man. It's because y'all managed to do it in the workplace. You managed to do it in education because you've been taught to value certain things and you are going to meet those metrics no matter what you have to do, ladies. And surprise, surprise, you'll give a corporation what it requires of you behaviorally, but you won't give that to a man behaviorally, which means, oh, Benton dies alone. Guess what? We all do. Dying alone is a false premise. Oh, marry your high school sweetheart and you both die in your 80s. Guess what? Flip a coin, one of you dies alone. Well, unless one of you remarries and partners up again. That's not part of the romance, though. Oh, yeah, but of course, you're going to die holding hands. Sure, you're not. That's mathematically extremely unlikely. Maybe they'll design the suicide booths where there'll be a little tunnel. Y'all can hold hands from your respective suicide pods. Otherwise, it's probably not happening for you, toots. Meanwhile, dominant masculinity doesn't even think about that. Dominant masculinity assumes some version of a violent warrior's death, or just some insane, crazy accident involving, resource acquisition through danger, right? It's like, oh, he was working the oil field in a blizzard and minus 50 in North Dakota, and some equipment failed and he fucking froze to death. Some version of that, right? We don't think about. No man wants to die with a wrinkled up old hag. Sorry. There's nothing in a dominant masculine man that can desire anything involving a wrinkled up bag of bones. It's not possible. And when Hillary was running for president, some young chickie, probably 25, got to talking to me about politics and tried to say that Hillary but she looks great for her age. I said, she's a fucking train wreck. What's wrong with you? And I'm from Arkansas. I grew up with Hillary. She's the first lady of my state. She's a goddamn train wreck. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's great for her age. You're out of your fucking mind. Doesn't look great by any standard. Meanwhile, yeah, Hillary as a human, official fiction, she's got some positive characteristics. Yeah, she's one of the most unlikable people of all time, sure. Surprise, surprise. She partnered up with one of the most likable people of all time, Bill Clinton. What a shocker. Cunning and conniving. And old Hillary behaved however old Hillary had to behave to get whatever she wanted out of that deal, didn't she? Old Hillary, she leveraged that deal to the hilt. Damn near became the president. Or came close. Closer than any woman ever has, right? Again, going official fiction. So when old Billy Boy went jogging down South Main and full of testosterone as the governor of the whole motherfucking state and seen a piece of black tail in the literal projects down there in South Main, Little Rock, Arkansas. I know it not well, but I know it. And he knocked her up, and he's got a 40-year-old black son named Danny Williams. And old Hillary understood that was within the realm of possibility. Hey, it comes with the package. Just what it is. So ladies, if you think you're going to be in a committed monogamous relationship with a dominant man, you're accepting some version of that. You are not entitled to separating and parsing out the parts that you feel like you shouldn't have to deal with. Doesn't matter what you feel like you should have to deal with. You're the one who can have cats and dogs and die alone. Because I don't give a fuck about that. And I'm a cat person, but I don't like litter boxes. I love cats. I don't like litter boxes. I'm not a pet person in the first place. But I know this, if for some insane reason I was going to start putting out effort towards dating and relationships, nothing over 35 and facially nothing short of a 9. And I mean nothing. I go talk to this, I'll give you an example. Some weird Korean lady who's probably about 25, taller than me, some fucking apex human. And because I went through an Asian fetish, not really fetish, but an Asian phase, unlike most white guys, I can absolutely properly deduce Asian facial features. And a 9.0 Amazonian Korean chick tried to stare me down on Sunset in Los Angeles, and I just looked right back at her like, oh yeah, you see what I see. You see that, yes, this is actually what you're attracted to. And I see, wow, women of those facial characteristics find me attractive some of the time, meaning hypothetically, in a vacuum, this is gettable for me. And she might have been an Olympic athlete for all I know. We're in Los Angeles. Is the world championships of some sport in town? I mean, for real. For all I know, she's a fucking Olympian. Best in the world at something. I don't know. It's possible. Looking some type of way at me. And now, did she have a look of disgust and disdain? Yeah, but she was. Do you think she stares down every man that walks up the fucking street in LA? Are you crazy? You know, maybe I did represent to her some version of, political masculinity that she thinks is not allowable under, so-called liberal dynamics. So what? If that exact type of dude who's not handsome walked by, do you think she'd bother to give him anything other than a fleeting, half-dirty look? Of course not. This bitch was staring me the fuck, attempted to stare me down. You think I can't use that assuming she spoke English, which she almost assuredly did. I think I can't use that and in the moment come up with something charming and funny and cocky and arrogant and start a fucking conversation. You're out of your fucking mind. Of course I can. And that's where I'll put my efforts, ladies of the six, ladies of the facial 6 and 7, which may as well be the same thing. A 7.0 ain't too far from a 6.9 now, is it? Nope. Hard to tell the difference there. Yeah. Sure enough is. Can't hardly distinguish them two. Am I willing to accept a 6.9? Of course I am. Not if am I willing to accept any woman that doesn't behave properly? Nope. Because we're not putting up with the 9.0's bullshit. I think a lot of women live in a fantasy world where they just assume that the 9.0, he'll just do whatever. Absolutely not. I'm also not coming home to her if she starts tripping. I'm also not coming home to her because ex-wife number 2, when we were both early 40s, she was somebody's 9. She wasn't necessarily my 9. She was quite attractive. But that was really more the compatibility than anything else. We were highly, highly compatible in certain ways. But having to do with me, again, the thing that brought me to the party in the first place, which is insert penis into vagina. Right? We were extremely compatible. You know, it does become parts fitting together at a certain point. Right? In physical motion, rhythmic physical motion. Right? I did play percussion in my youth, lest we forget. And so what women will do as a group is they will seek to corral all male behavior and corporatize it so that I will then, if I'm not careful, be made to behave based on what the beta boys who can't rearrange them guts on an ongoing basis. And this is not a science question, ladies. This is a meeting a standard at a minimum and knowing what to do with it and being physically able to do it. It's not, oh, well, there's something a person's born with. No, it's a minimum standard of that with other things. Meaning it has to be it has to have certain physical characteristics. And once those characteristics are present, any man with those characteristics can learn what to do with the physical characteristics. Guess who taught himself what to do? That would be me. It's called the Sexual Olympics. I don't really want to go back into training. So if I'm going to go back into training, I'm going to have it my motherfucking way. If I'm going to go back, because that's what I would do, I would go back into, physical training for Sexual Olympics. Oh, yeah. You think I'm just out here God-given talent? You can't ever be the best while relying on God-given talent. I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm saying I'm competitive, and I did everything possible to make sure that I have a pretty high chance of her believing that I'm the best. That's my job. It's called duty and responsibility. Ladies. Duty and responsibility. Do I have any fruit left, or did I eat it all? I think I might have some. Shit, I'm basically out of fruit. What a disaster. We got a little bit of grapes left. I guess we'll eat those. Maybe I'll open a can of apricots real quick. So what ladies will do as a group is they'll have me behaving like I can't do all of those things. And that's insanity. Why would I do that? Whatever these other guys got going on has absolutely nothing to do with me or what they don't have going on. Yeah, that does not apply to me, ladies. I hate to break it to you. None of that has anything to do with me. I'm not involved in that. I'm involved in you are guaranteed an internal vaginal orgasm without me stimulating your clitoris. It's a certainty. Guarantee it. And once she knows it, that's a totally different ball game. Once she starts making noises that she's never heard herself make, it's a different ball game. And you can't fake my tone of voice when I say that. See, I'd be a millionaire. Hey, I'd be a millionaire actor if I could put on that level of performance. Don't you think? And the Korean knew it because they can detect it. And now that social media has put this huge onus on males' facial characteristics, things have changed. Things have changed. So I've talked about in the past that me and ex-wife number 2 had very few arguments in the entirety of we averaged less than one actual argument a year. And that's not an exaggeration. But for some reason, the few that we had more often than not would be in the grocery store. And finally, I just figured out there's no reason for us ever to go to a grocery store together ever again. But for whatever reason, I forgot myself, and we were. This is after we started traveling together. We were in somewhere at a super center in I don't know, Ventura, California, somewhere like that, somewhere in SoCal, and you know the California thing. It's different than being in Arkansas because I'm just I'm an outgoing person who a cult brainwashed me to talk to people. You know, lest we forget. I was brainwashed by a cult to talk to people. So next thing you know, and my ex-wife number 2 was very jealous. Next thing you know, she's that type of person. Her perception is that I'm flirting with the young, attractive Californian lady, you know, at the clerk at the supercenter. Meanwhile, it was that the clerk was flirting with me. And I think ex-wife number 2 was starting to see that there might be a level of competition that she was previously unaware of, and she probably didn't like the way that felt, I'm assuming. I don't know. I'm guessing. And she went to fucking tripping. And her way of tripping, she started treating me like I was doing something wrong. And I waited, and I was polite to the lady, who probably figured out this was getting weird. And as soon as we got far enough away from the checkout, I turned to her and I said, listen, if this is what I'm going to be putting up with, I'm going younger and hotter. And I just looked at her. And she knew I meant it. And what I communicated to her was, yes, this is here. I can't do anything about that there's way more attractive women here than where me and you are from. I can't do anything about that. But if this is how you're going to act, I'm absolutely going to not be with you, and I'm going to go be with one of them. You decide which one's it going to be. Because if this is the level of aggravation I'm going to put up with, I might as well go put up with it from one of her instead of you. And I was able to say it without saying it. I just told her. I said, if this is what I'm going to be putting up with, I'm going younger and hotter. And I just looked at her. And anybody's opinion of that is their problem. How she feels about that, not my problem. Because that's what I will do. And guess what? Never happened again. That thing never happened again. That's what I mean. I chose to not experience that ever again. And surprise, surprise, I didn't. Because if she had kept acting that way, I would have not been with her. And I would have probably ended up with a younger, hotter woman than her. That's how it works, ladies. And there's nothing you can do about it. Because if you're hot for a 42-year-old in Arkansas, and I can get a hot 28-year-old in California. Well, except for I have a Southern accent. If not for that. So maybe not California, but they have the good sense not to have anything to do with the Okies, which I do appreciate. I respect it. I could still probably hit though, but just no relationship. And I've never been interested in the hitting. It's just not my cup of tea. Because why? Because I'm gonna have another boner after this one. I don't see what good hitting her once does, or maybe twice. What good is that? That don't help. Remember, 3 times a day, every day for the first year I was with my first wife. You have to be some pretty high level of womanizer to be able to. That's just logistically. Think about that night. That's a logistical nightmare to try to have that much sex with multiple women. Good God. Man, because I got this broken tooth. I've been chewing on one side of my mouth so much that now I'm getting a lot of pain in my jaw because it's created an imbalance. I'm just gonna have to eat. I'm just gonna start eating on the side with the broken tooth, and if it gets broken more, it's just nothing I can really do about it at this point. It fucking hurts. Ow. So again, and I have no desire to teach this to women, it's that the reality is there are men like me, but society will never allow women to both be accepted in society and to have a man like me as their man. And at this point, she would have to do all the work, meaning she's going to have to initiate the initial interaction, which is not just walking up next to me and waiting for me to do something. I mean, she's going to have to approach me, and she's going to have to learn to do it in a way that doesn't turn me off or annoy me. She's going to have to make herself available in a way that suits me and not her. And in fact, it probably won't suit her because in order to begin to perform that, she's probably not going to like how she feels. Not my problem. Don't care. Oh, you don't care about her feelings? I don't care about those feelings with respect to me and my behavior. No, I don't. Sure don't. That's not the same as not caring about her feelings. I care about her feelings to the degree I care about anybody's feelings. In order to conduct myself as what I consider to be an appropriate, uh, competent human, I must treat everybody as if their feelings are some level of importance. She ain't special. Because remember, what's 90? And see, when I say she ain't special, and a woman has a feeling and wants to argue, we open our notebook. I reach out as a teacher and I open her notebook and I turn it to the page and I point where she wrote down 90% of his willingness to be in a committed relationship with you is to put his penis in your vagina. And that's never going to change. And nobody can make that change. And she's going to read that again in that moment. And her emotions and her whatever rebellious spirit is within her, that Jezebel spirit is going to rebel. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change the fact that her vagina is 90% of why this is happening in the first place. But it's not because she's not special, because you've all got one. Therefore, I'm not here because you're special, bitch. I'm here because you got a vagina and you're behaving the proper way. The other vaginas are not behaving properly. Or they have characteristics that they screen themselves out. And then she says, so you're saying a woman is nothing but a vagina? I'm saying to me, from my perspective, with respect to dating and relationships, yes, 90% of everything that gets me into the room is the vagina. And you all have one. And they're all more alike than they are unalike. None of them are special. They're all fucking pretty fucking wonderful, in my experience. None of them are special. And by the way, where is the love, the compassion, and the tolerance and the empathy for men? We're the ones dealing with some crazy woman, not them. I'm accepting a woman's insane emotions. She's not doing that. She lives with them already. She lives 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with her insane emotions. I'm choosing to bring them into my life. Are you crazy? Where's the compassion towards me on that basis? We talk about the ick till you're blue in the face. Ladies, there's not a man on the planet that will not give you the ick at least one time within any fucking 30-day period. Not one. Your ideal perfect partner of a man will absolutely give you the ick at least once every 30 days, no matter what. This is what it is. Women have been allowed themselves to be sold a bill of goods that means something. Yeah, it means you're a woman with emotions. It doesn't mean anything else. That's all it means. It doesn't mean I did anything. And the sweetest, most loving, submissive woman with a dominant man, masculine man, will still get emotional and start tripping. And there's been times when my second wife was tripping, and I said, listen, do you realize that I'm being punished solely because I'm the only person that's here? I said, you're doing this to me, and it's only happening because I'm the person that's here. Do you not recognize that I don't have anything to do with what you're feeling right now? I just happen to be what you're looking at while you're feeling the feelings, and you're mistakenly connecting the two. Don't you get that? I understand it doesn't feel that way. That's what's happening. So, do you want me to remove myself from the situation, or do you want to go off by yourself? Maybe, go in the bedroom or whatever, and do you maybe want to experience those emotions while you're not looking at the side of my head? Because again, it doesn't matter what a guy does, at some point, he's looking at the side of his head, feeling some type of way. And you women, I know you know what I'm talking about, because I've lived with you. There's a side of my head for you to look at. That doesn't mean I need to behave any differently than I behave. Why? Because my head has a side, and sometimes you sit and look at the side of my head while you're feeling some type of way. There's nothing actionable unless I can figure out how not to have a side of my head. And the woman in her feelings will say, well, yeah, he could understand me well enough to know not to present that side of his skull to me. Yeah, I mean, for real. And it's just like, all right. If you say so. If you say so. Tell me I don't know women in relationships. And if I go into another relationship with a woman, I'm inviting that into my life, not her life. That's already her life. And if it ain't the side of my head, it ain't the side of some other motherfucker's head. A man, though. Remember, debatable. It's usually something involved with she's feeling some type of way because she's feeling something with the competitiveness and the other women. Right? It's like, oh, I know this motherfucker. I saw how he looked at her and this and that. But she's feeling some type of way looking at the side of my head. It's like, yo, if no man was here, you'd be looking at the motherfucking wall or the kitchen counter and you'd still be feeling some type of way about something. So what's the fucking difference? This is crazy. You got to stop this. You have to stop. You have to stop this. Not me. I don't have to do anything. What's not fair, ladies, is I get to stay exactly the same. You got to figure it the fuck out. We don't work on anything. I'm already behaving correctly and appropriately, and if for some reason I fall short of that standard, I will fix it. Up to and including giving you a specific apology, and I will make it right. If we haven't reached that standard, I'm not involved. That's your problem. Figure it out. Leave me alone. And see, you can't be in a relationship, ladies. You cannot be in a relationship with a dominant masculine man if you can't leave him the fuck alone. Some portion of the time, you're going to feel some type of way. You're going to want answers. And if it's time to leave him alone, you got to leave him the fuck alone anyway. In spite of yourself. I remember one time, ex-wife number 2, I made a couple of friends, these servers, when I worked at Outback. They were going from they were traveling the country in a van, and they were going like Outback to Outback, picking up shifts and stuff as servers. Pretty smart idea. Actually. So I brought them home with me, and I had to go by the house. And I don't know what was wrong with ex-wife. I still don't. Never even asked her what was wrong with her. But I went inside. I left them in the car, or maybe they came in. I don't remember. They probably came in real briefly, and then we were going to go out. We're going out to whatever we're going to do. We're going out. Doesn't matter. But the woman will say, well, where were you going? What were you going to do? It doesn't fucking matter. I'm a grown-ass man. I'm going wherever I'm going. I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. That's never going to change. What do you mean, where am I going and what am I doing? I don't have a boss. I'm the boss of me, bitch. I'm going wherever the fuck I'm going, and I'm doing whatever I'm doing. And I think, because she was married before, it probably triggered something that her first husband used to do to her. And, man, she came out there. We was about to get in the car, and she caught me. I'm just, like, talking to my friends. I'm about to get in the car. And she come out there with just a crazed fucking look in her eye. And just, I don't even know what she was saying, man. It was demonic in retrospect. And they looked at me, and see, here's where other men, you know, they kind of played the part sometimes. They kind of looked at me like, assuming I was going to go, I'd need to go back in the house and talk to her, and maybe they're going to have to wait until I smooth it over. I looked at them, I said, fellas, get in the car. I looked at her, and we just got in the car and drove away. I never heard another word about it. We just laughed and laughed and laughed. I said, you believe that bitch? You believe that bitch? Fucking crazy, man. All of you's like that. There ain't no one of you that doesn't have their version of that at some point or some point in time. Not my problem. Ain't my problem. You really? So can you just go ahead and admit that you don't want to be in a relationship with a guy like that? Because we're all, guess what, ladies? We're all like that too. There is not a dominant masculine man who is not going to treat you his version of whatever that is. Because if you start tripping like that and he accepts your frame, he's not a dominant masculine man. If he's going to let you run the show, why do I need to go talk to her? I'm still going to go where I'm going to go and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. However she feels about that is her problem. She's free to break up with me and go date somebody else. If she's going to be in a relationship with me, she's in a relationship with a guy who, if I want to go out at night without her, that is not up to her. Now, am I the type of rude asshole who will do that to her every night? No. See, most nights was me and her, and maybe entertaining, maybe another couple or whatever, not in a sexual way, but entertaining or whatever. She liked to entertain, right? And this night, she's left to her own devices. Hopefully not actual devices, right? I don't know, bitch. Find something to do. Read a book. Rent a movie. Call up one of your gal pals. I don't give a fuck. We know she ain't gonna call up a guy. Because if she said, oh, well, I went out with my friend such and such. Oh, okay. I didn't realize we were going out. I didn't realize we were doing one-on-ones with females. And now I'll start having one-on-ones with females. And, well, she doesn't want that. So she knows she can't go call up, she can't call up one of her, a male coworker or whatever. Right? That's not on the table. Early on, I've said this before, she had this neighbor moved in next door to her, and this lady was, I don't know what her problem was, but she was living this real crazy party girl single lifestyle. And, my second wife's pretty impressionable. And next thing you know, she's, tagging along. I started dating another woman immediately. And she was basically like, what the fuck are you doing? I said, I don't know if you realize this. I said, since that woman moved in next door, I said, you've been living like you're single. If you think I'm going to be in a relationship with you while you are also behaving like you're single, you're out of your fucking mind. And all I know how to do is fight fire with fire. So, I know what you can do, and I probably will not date this bitch anymore. I probably will stop seeing this bitch. You're going to have to quit hanging around with the neighbor. I said, y'all get the fuck off. Why wouldn't she? I don't think I even told her that. I think I was just like confused. I said, do you know what you've been doing lately? I said, I don't even think you realize what you're doing. Or you can't live this way and I'm just gonna hang out. No. You realize there's some women that want to date me other than you, right? Surely you're aware of this. And I didn't wait. I saw what she was doing. I didn't say, hey, bitch, what the fuck? I said, okay. And the next woman that made it easy for me, that I found attractive, meaning I liked the shape of whatever was surrounding her vagina, I started seeing her, meaning I started fucking her. Yep. That's what I mean. I don't know if number two was fucking or not, but it was still early enough in the thing. We weren't quite to that level of me being like, hey, bitch, what the fuck? But, testing the waters probably to some extent. But I just immediately I just showed her that, well, if you do that, this is what I do. So I don't particularly want to be seeing this other bitch, but whatever. I think we were living together by then, maybe. And I'm pretty sure I started staying at my buddy's house. I think I also simultaneously quit coming home to her. And then I had the other bitch coming over to his house. Yeah, we didn't do too many nights of that. That was like 2 or 3 nights, and that shit was over. A dominant, manly, masculine man. That's what he does. His own version of that. See. So when women hear this, they'll try to make me wrong. And here's how they try to make me wrong. They attack the manner in which I do the thing. It doesn't matter how I do it. I do it in a way that's consistent with my personality and who I am as a person. I'm a direct, bold, aggressive person who sends a clear message most of the time. Another type of dude to do the same thing would have to do it in a different way. That's okay. So a woman will see all this and attack the manner in which it's conducted. Bitch, that ain't got nothing to do with it. And I think some people get confused with my use of the term bitch. Bitch is a term of endearment, like the possessive. That's my bitch, right? Because like it or not, ladies, if you're in a relationship with a dominant masculine man, one of the two of you is the bitch of the relationship, and it's never him. Meaning, there's a bitch in the relationship, and it's not him, so who is it? It's never not that. You're always the bitch, lady. If you're in a relationship with a dominant masculine man, you're never not the bitch. Not in a demeaning way. That's the dynamic. Somebody is the bitch, and it's not him. That only leaves you to be the bitch. Why do they call it, oh, she's being a bitch? It's because that's all she's got. She can't behave no other way. Because if he's dominant and masculine and she's tripping, she's being a bitch. That's all she can do is be a bitch. When she came out with that crazed look in her eye, she was being a bitch. There's never not a bitch in the relationship. And if the woman is with a dominant masculine man, it's never him. So basic mathematics and algebra says it's her. That's a term of endearment. So when we're driving away laughing, I'm like, can you believe that bitch? Bitch is crazy, man. And then we went out and probably got drunk. So what? I'm a grown ass man. I don't really drink anymore. But so ladies, without attacking the manner in which I behaved, meaning the style and how it felt and sounded, go ahead and explain to me why, as a grown man in a relationship with a grown woman, I could ever be wrong for going out to get drunk with my friends. Explain to me how I could ever be wrong for doing that. Now, don't invent some things that I could do while I'm out drunk with my friends. I'm saying the act of me going out and getting drunk with my new friends from work, how can I ever be wrong as an adult, grown adult man who's free to do these things? I'll help you. I can't. Now, I can accept her notion that I'm wrong, and they can say, oh, he's in trouble. He's in the doghouse. It's my house. How could I ever be in the doghouse? It's my house. What do you mean the doghouse? We don't even have a dog, but I can't be in trouble. That doesn't exist. Because remember, if I fuck up and transgress, I will figure it out. I will make it right, up to and including a formal, specific apology. You think I never fucked up and had to apologize? Had to apologize, not to placate her, had to apologize based on my code because that's what's right for me to do. Because when I fuck up, I have to make it right. And I know we're off the rails, but we're 3 hours in with the nonsense banner up, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But and so back to the looks maxing and the clavicular and all of this stuff. Probably with the help of the internet, these younger guys have figured out that they're going to be putting up with a high level of aggravation no matter what woman they direct their efforts towards. So that then creates a situation where they would be foolish to pursue anything below the top tier of women. And then women confuse themselves because they want to say, well, I have this job, I have this amount of money, I live in this type of house, I drive this type of car. We don't care. When I say top tier, I mean looks and I mean your face, not filters. We'll let you have a little makeup. All right. I don't mind. Skincare's never bothered me. A little makeup, a little skincare, great, go for it. I don't need it, but maybe she does. Right? In fact, I got a hint. I learned a trick many years ago in my early teens because I had, guys with the testosterone. Sometimes we get the acne, and the next thing you know, we're buying all the products that, surprise, surprise, just make it worse. The OxyClean and all that fucking nonsense. And we figure out pretty quick that ain't gonna do anything but make it worse. And so I asked a really pretty girl that I actually got to be really good friends with, and that's a whole nother, ended up being a unrequited love. It's a really long story that I won't get into now, but at a certain point, I was talking to her quite a bit on the phone after school, before school. Well, I guess after school mostly, on the weekends. And again, like I said, I've always liked women. I like talking to women, always have. And we were in band together, and finally, just because she had really clear skin and she was just a real pretty girl, and she's like half Asian or whatever. And I finally just asked her, what do you do to your face, And I remember this was like, I'm from the South, I'm a dude, and it's like, I'm just want to know. She said, I'll tell you what you do. Never, ever, ever put anything on your face other than water. Don't put nothing on your face, nothing, not even soap. Leave it alone. Now, there's times when I do put soap on my face, but it's not very often. And the comments I've gotten on my skin in my life, in the hundreds, just people commenting on my skin. Because I'm the type of person, you tell me some shit like that, okay, I just quit putting soap and other nonsense on my face. And guess who's mostly had a clear complexion their whole life? Surprise, surprise. What the fuck? But, in the scenario I'm attempting to create, the women who, could be told, hey, ladies, there are men in society who are unattached, who have a high level of experience with women, who like women, but if they put themselves out there, They're not putting themselves out there. And if they do, they're never going to talk to you ever. Ever, 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 ever. But they'll still be open to having something with you, but you got to make it happen. They're never going to go make it happen because they have already realized if they got to go put in any amount of effort whatsoever, they're only going to put that effort to the women with the most beautiful faces, and that's not you. And that's never going to be you. And that's nothing you can do to create that situation for yourself. These masculine dominant men are never going to approach you. And if you think a dominant masculine man is approaching you, guess what? Something's wrong with him. And some of these guys that you go approach, there's something wrong with some of them. And you got to figure out how to detect it. So part of me, after I learned how to approach women and get phone numbers and do all of these things, I still had to be able to screen out the ones who weren't suitable. I didn't just start dating any of them, right? Now, this is sort of fantasy because this is never going to happen. But the way we got this far into the conversation is this idea of looks maxing, and they're conflating it with incel culture, incel core, but they're distinguishing it from men going their own way. And like any problem, it's a woman content creator reading an article written by a woman. And so the minute she reads the name of the author and her credentials, I say, well, that's a feminist. Now, look, I like feminists, for fuck's sake. I would see that feminists get screened out, right? So would I potentially end up in a relationship with a feminist? Sure, if she could act right. But remember, she's got to meet me. She's got to get through the first 5 minutes without annoying me. Then she's got to facilitate everything, every step along the way. And all I'm going to do is show up. For real. And then the woman's going to say, well, how is that fair? It's not fair. It's never going to be fair. It's because you have the same thing between your legs that all the other women have between their legs. And how's that fair? How's it fair that every other woman has exactly what you have between your legs? How's that fair? Is that fair? In a fair world, would I be able to look at every woman in the world and realize that they all have vaginas? How's that fair to you and your vagina? It's not. It's not fair. It's never going to be fair. Why are you trying to make it fair? I'm not 6 years old. Can we both be adults and accept that it's never going to be fair? Meaning, you got to work to get me, and what I'm doing for you is I'm showing up. You're welcome. And the minimum is I go back into training for the sexual Olympics, and which I provide to you 2 to 3 times a month. You're welcome. Because I'm 50 and, I need to recover. And, and the first thing that happens. Oh, what about the dick pills? That's not even what I'm talking about. Oh, if I'm not trying to hit a standard, I can go every day I have to. I'm talking about a standard. I've got a minimum standard. I'm telling you, at my age, it's 2 to 3 times a month max. I'm actually only really going to promise a frequency of once every 30 days. What I'm saying is we're probably going to average twice a month. And some months it will hit 3 times. And will it happen more at the start, and will it become less over time? Sure, but we're going to, And I also understand when she gets real bitchy, it's, oh, well, I guess I got some work to do. Because somewhere right now, a woman's being a bitch, and it's because some man hadn't fucked the bitchiness out of her recently. That's all that is. And in fact, that's probably why I didn't realize it at the time. That's probably why she was tripping when I brought the fellas home, and she didn't realize I was going out that night. She probably was already warming up and assuming that there was going to be some, some sexual healing going on. And now she's thinking maybe, and I don't know, maybe I came home and put on my usual performance, and I didn't. I don't fucking know. Who knows? That's actually probably what was bothering her, now that I think about it. Trying to see if I'd stay home and fuck the bitchiness out of her or not. It's like if they had the words, they would just be able to tell you, hey man, would you pretty please with sugar on top come fuck this bitchiness out of me? You see the crazed look in my eyes? Would you pretty please with sugar on top come fuck that right out of me? Thank you. That's what y'all are, ladies. It's what you are. And you can't do anything about it. Just like when the window breaks at 2 a.m, you stay in the bed and call 911. I go downstairs to face off with an attacker who might kill me. And part of me likes that. That's what I am. I don't control it. It's not, oh, Benton's a tough guy. No, that's what I am. I don't control the part where part of me likes it and looks forward to it. Oh, I can't wait to see who thinks they can come in my house. It's going to be fucking fantastic. Can't wait to set eyes on this motherfucker. What if there's 2 of them? I don't know. What if there's 1 and he kills me and fucks my woman? I mean, that's just what happened, I guess. I don't fucking know. Next thing you know, she's got his kid. Who knows? All sorts of things are possible. I'm just saying, I can't wait to find out which way this thing's going. I can't wait to see how this thing resolves itself. It's going to be interesting. I don't control that. That's what I am. And ladies, you must accept that that's what you're trying to end up in a relationship with. Specifically that. It's just you don't understand what it is. And your feelings and what society has taught you and feminism and all of these other things, it tries to tell you you can have everything, that you can have that laying in the bed with you every night, but then you can somehow make that behave the way that you think you're entitled to it behaving towards you. And I'm here to tell you, no, you cannot. That can never happen. No, you cannot. It's not possible. So that would be in your book. That would be in her notebook. And again, when she's emotional, we'll just have her open her book and we'll point her, see this section? You remember us talking about this? This is what you're doing right now. You're trying to be Burger King. Have it your way. I'm Burger King, bitch. I get to have it my way. You just should be thankful that I don't have it more of my way. Guess what, Toots? If I had it more of my way, you would like that too. If I had it even more of my way, you would like that too. Hell, she might prefer it. Now I'm coming home to a scary. I don't want to come home to a scary bitch. Like, damn. I mean, you really get crazy doing all kind of crazy shit to them. And then at a certain point, it's like, well, fuck, I can't go home to this broad at this point. I'm scared. Now I'm scared to go home to it. So it's probably part of why I've said that I'm actually pretty vanilla and prudish in my own life. Like, yeah, there's all sorts of things I could probably pull off, but it's like, damn, now we're sort of establishing a track record. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't want to be nervous to go home. Fuck. Good God. Let's keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Fuck me, man. Because they are way more malleable and flexible than we are, fellas. Way more. They run a gamut that, as a man, we could scarcely imagine. And see, I'm accepting all of that. It's never fair. You know why, ladies? You're not expected to accept any of this. You're not expected to accept a romantic partner. Yeah, I said partner. A romantic partner with that level of emotionalism, right, of a woman to cohabitate with a woman's emotions. Do you know what it would take for me to freely choose to cohabitate with a woman's emotions? That's like being in a relationship with her as a person that I like to be friends with, and their vagina and an entirely separate person. That's like a whole nother person, just her emotions. For real. It's almost like dealing with multiple people. It's like, oh, this again. Yeah, motherfucker. This again. You chose it. But as a man, see, we don't get to complain about what we're freely choosing, and I don't get to blame. I don't get to blame her because she's a woman who has emotions. I don't get to say, well, why are you doing this to me? What is the meaning what is the meaning of this? Like, what do you mean, sir? The vagina is attached to these level of emotions. Hey, I know, let's feed it a bunch of psych meds so that it all of a sudden it's now it's got the resting bitch face and the dead affect. That's even worse. Give me the over the top emotions any day of the week. At least I know what I'm dealing with. Some of these broads will carve a motherfucker up. Will physically carve a motherfucker up. Never change facial expression and go right back to playing video games. Oh, I've seen the interrogation videos. All right. Well, I've yapped long enough, and my phone is not charging, even though it's plugged in, and that's not good for him. We're running her hot. She's running hot. Thanks for watching. Bye.